Hey, it's Nate Seale at 512 Brewery here in Austin, Texas, and you are watching the Beer Diaries. Drink local.
Rolling fast down I-35, through the day and past the
Hey folks, this is Zeschuk from Beer Diaries. We are at 512 Brewing Company, and as you can see, we are in a working brewery. There's a giant bubbling barrel over there. There's guys kegging behind us. I'm with Nate Seale, the head brewer.
Folks.
We are hanging out and talking about beer.
Yep.
So I'm gonna grab my beer. Feel free.
I will.
We actually have we are very blessed in that we're trying their four. It's almost, your 4th anniversary is?
Our 4th anniversary was technically, we count it from when we sold our first keg, and so
Okay.
that was August 1st of 2008. So we're a couple months past our official 4th anniversary.
And you've been here since the beginning. I think we were talking earlier, and you were, Kevin Brand, the owner, had hired you as a, sort of his assistant right at the beginning.
Sure, yeah.
What was that like?
It was pretty awesome because I came from a background of just home brewing, and I had worked in restaurants for 14, 15 years, and that was great, and it kind of got me, it had its rewards, I guess you would say, but I had pretty much burned out on that by start of 2008 and was ready to do something else. So I said, screw this, and quit my old job in restaurants, and basically kind of threw caution to the wind and started looking for a job in brewing. And it was not a great time in Austin, I guess, for looking for a job in a brewing company.
It's not like it is now. I mean, to set the stage for folks, you were kind of like I almost called like the youngest of the old guys. I mean, there was a whole bunch of folks that were there for a long time, like Live Oak, and then Independence was there for a while, Real Ale, and then you guys were very loud here, isn't it? You guys were like the last one that stood up before about a year lull, then everything exploded. So back then it was a little quiet.
Yeah, youngest of the old guys or oldest of the young guys, I guess, depending on how you look at it.
I'm not sure which one I'd rather be. So that's a tricky one.
It's hard to say, yeah. But basically I think, late 90s, early 2000s was kind of a really rough time in Austin for breweries. We had just a ton of great breweries closing down. Some not so great ones too, but just a lot of breweries closing down. The great Waterloo Brewing Company and the great Bitter End, and Celis had closed in the late 90s as well.
Consistent through all these interviews I've been doing with folks, and they really talk with reverence about those older breweries. And of course, some of the guys that work there are still on the scene, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
But but then, like you said, then it was kind of a wasteland of brewing for a while.
Yeah, it was rough. And then Independence came along in 2004. And so they were, I guess they were kind of the, I don't know where they would fit in between old guys or young guys or whatever.
Middle.
So they came along in 2004, and then 2008 we opened up, and then I want to say late 2009, within a year and a half to 2 years, the explosion just started happening.
Yeah, Thirsty Planet was one of the first of the latter ones,
and just Circle and Jester King and all those.
Yeah, and I mean that's part of what we've been talking about on the show. Obviously, it's just how incredible the brewing scene in Austin has become, and you guys are a staple. I know on a personal level, like I've been coming here to Austin itself about 5 years, so it's been perfect. Like I had, Pecan Porter is one of my first beers in Austin, and to this very day, still love it. One of my all-time favorites. Like there's one sitting back there, so I'm salivating very slightly. But I'm even more excited about the Coco Cerise, which is like as you said, there's coconut, cherry.
Right, toasted coconut, black cherry, and a little bit of Honduran vanilla. It's very important to say Honduran rather than Mexican vanilla, because one of our brewers, Kirby, is Honduran, and he wants to make that difference. He wants to make sure that's clear.
But that's the cool thing is, you not only like in a sense, like the recipe for Pecan Porter's so well established. You're playing on it already. It's like very much one of those beers in Austin that if you want to, someone comes to town, I'll pick a beer for them. Say I want something darker from Austin. I go, let me give you a beer that it started me down the road for sure, and cool. Just absolutely delicious. So in terms of there's not just the brewing scene but the drinking scene as well. I mean, the number of taps has just increased massively.
Yeah.
What's that been for you guys? I mean, why don't you talk a little where we're sitting and why it's so noisy here, why there's bubbling there. Like, let's start with, where are we? We're in the middle, we are in the belly of the beast in the middle of a brewery that's running.
We're right in the middle of production right here. In the background, you can see our keg washing filling machine. That's a relatively new acquisition. We've had that for under a year. That's helped us out a lot, increased production by quite a bit. We've got that running. We're sitting right between two bright tanks. So these are, it's a 120 barrel bright tank and a 100 barrel bright tank. On the other side of the camera over here, we've got a fermenter, and a fermenter over there, and the sort of the heart of the brewery where the brew house is and a bunch of other fermenters are all kind of over there on the other side of the building. So yeah, we're right here in the middle of the action.
But in terms of the your guys' approach as well, I mean, even largely kegs. I mean, there's rare bottlings you guys do of special beers, but you've gone the keg route so far. Is that something you think is going to you're going to continue with, or what do you imagine as your primary goal, just using kegs? Yeah,
for the foreseeable future, at least, I would say we have no plans to bottle or can.
With the exception of those special releases.
Yeah, except for those special releases. We'll do those, maybe a couple of times a year. We'll keep on doing that. The next one will be our whiskey barrel double pecan porter that'll come out. I hate to make promises. I want to say mid-December to mid-January.
And then it'll sell out in one day.
It'll sell out in maybe two. It might go 2
hours. No, that last time. I mean, so it's funny because there's a funny story. It actually, this is actually kind of a crazy story. It is your beer. Now that I remember it, is the reason that this show exists.
Is that right?
The double pecan porter. I went to the Whip In at like 8 p.m. to go get it. Like on the day it was released, and one of the guys at the Whip In, of course, laughed at me. It's like, it's already sold out, sucker.
Yeah.
Here, try it. I think you give me a Mad Meg. Let's hang out with the Mad Meg and we'll commiserate.
Right.
And that's when I sat across the table from a gentleman named Mr. Mike Mann, who's behind that camera, and hey, Ben, he's over there. Ben Leavitt, our editor, we're actually having beers together.
Oh, cool.
And literally we were like, hey, we should...
that's where the concept came from?
Yeah, well, I said I want to do some beer filming, and Mike's like, well, actually I already did that. He did a documentary called Brewed with Jeff Young over at Black Star for South by, and it was like, I think this is the match made in heaven. So this was, I think it was like an April or May launch. So it was whatever the day it came out. It was
probably March last year.
So that's when we kind of started talking about it, and so you
cool.
guys.
Well, glad we could help.
Yeah, that's actually a great story.
That's great.
I'm glad it's on camera. I didn't realize, I didn't click for me until right now. But and that's the thing. I mean, one thing I want to emphasize to folks too is not only are your keg beers, they're on tap all over town. They're very, very, very popular. Your special releases are among the hottest releases anywhere. I mean, like I couldn't even buy a bottle of Wild Bear. I drove over town hearing rumors of Wild Bear. So I finally found one actually at Black Star had bottles, for the dinner. I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, I guess to be fair, a lot of the reason for that is probably because we do so few of them. But I hope that the beer is also excellent and people enjoy that.
Oh yeah. No,
yeah, it's funny. You mentioned you guys came together over. The bottling of the double pecan porter and that kind of thing. That's kind of that kind of relates back to our philosophy on kegging versus bottling and all that. There are a lot of other reasons as well. One of the big key among those is that we just can't really grow fast enough right now to meet demand just draft alone. But also, we have this whole concept of beer being best consumed on draft when you're at a pub, you're at a restaurant, you're having great times with your family, with your friends,
camaraderie,
or whatever, camaraderie, you're having great conversations, you're making connections, you're coming up with big plans and that kind of thing. So that's something that we really, we believe in, and we want to, be associated with that.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. How far afield is your beer getting? Are there kegs going into other cities other than Austin at this point?
Yeah, we're basically in what I guess some people call the Texas Triangle. So this is DFW area, I think up as far as Denton, down to like San Antonio and Houston, and pretty much everything in between.
Yeah, so all the main urban centers of Texas that you guys cover.
This part of Texas. We're not out west yet.
Well, you said, the demand is so high, it's just physically difficult to, buy the tank and find the space and put the tank in the space.
Yeah.
And it's amazing the amount of growth that the scene has shown. Like, how do you see it going? Like, what do you imagine it's going to be like going forward? Like, do you think it can continue at this incredible pace?
I think, it's probably got to slow down someday, but I don't really see it happening right now. I feel like there's a lot of room in the market for all of us right now. I think when all the other breweries started popping up a couple of years back, and we knew there was going to be a big boom. There was sort of the feeling that, maybe not everybody would make it because the market just can't support that many breweries, but that's been just proven completely wrong so far. Like, everybody is doing really well. I think there's still room for more breweries. With, the benefit of hindsight, it seems like, I think, a dozen more breweries could open in Austin, and we'd still, have plenty of business for all of us to stay alive.
I think I agree. I mean, I think even thrive. I mean, what's also happened with what you're discussing is that simultaneously with the growth of the breweries, the number of like high quality brew pubs and brewing pubs and places to get a great beer have gone up enormously.
Absolutely.
And secondarily, you're seeing a really awesome phenomenon where places like Barley Swine are having great beer lists. So it's very high quality restaurants are pairing beer with food. You're seeing just beer making this awesome tendril attack through everything.
You're seeing places where you would never really expect craft beer to be featured. You're seeing those people really want to sort of jump on that bandwagon too, I think, and get a part of it.
For sure.
It's just really booming, and I don't really see an end.
Yeah, I noticed you have a tattoo on your arm that looks kind of hoppy.
I do. I've got hops on
your arm.
Right arm.
How many IBUs is that?
Good question.
1,000 IBUs of power.
You didn't ask what variety they are. That's the question I get most often.
Oh, I'm not sure. Is it actually specifically designed?
Today they're Willamette. I change it based on.
So this what you're using? Like,
exactly.
What you're making?
This was all trade, actually. The barter system is a wonderful, wonderful thing. It's great. It's awesome having a craft that people want to trade for. So. I know a tattoo artist that likes my beer, and I like his tattoos. So.
As long as he's not drinking a ton of your beer while he's tattooing, it's all good.
No, he's professional. He waits until after he's done
and then
to drink a ton.
Then he goes for it. One thing we came in when we sort of walked in here earlier, and it was pretty loud. There's some kind of crazy music, some kind of rock and roll music playing.
Big Boys.
Was it Big Boys? I mean, one question we asked actually.
Classic Austin punk band.
Yeah, punk.
From the old days.
That's cool. So one thing we always ask folks is what I'd like to brew by. I think, and I mean, do you guys have does everyone get a choice, or how does that normally work?
Yeah, it's just pretty much a total free for all. I get here earliest in the morning, so usually I sort of dominate the first few hours of us being up and running. I've got a fun. We listen to a lot of kind of jammy or jazzy stuff, a lot of Grateful Dead. I have a personal fondness for Iron Maiden, and so we had sort of an Iron Maiden marathon earlier today before the big boys.
Any beers dedicated to Iron Maiden in your repertoire?
No, not yet, but maybe someday. Someday. But a lot of stuff. I mean, the guys around here, we all listen to a lot of hip hop, a lot of just whatever strikes, whatever strikes us, and we tweet about it when we're brewing too.
That's awesome. What are some of the other like before we get into your beers, we'll go down in a second. So one question I also asked is, what are some of the other beers around town that you really like, or some of the brewers you have worked with and really enjoyed? Is there anything particular that you're really love?
Well, I would love to give a shout out to like pretty much everybody in our scene, because we've got a great scene here, and I just,
it's very collegial,
it really is. I just can never stress enough to people that we don't feel like we're competition with each other. It doesn't ever feel like we're competitors that have to be, aggressive with each other or anything like that. There's this feeling that we're all in league together against a much bigger enemy, basically. So as far as other beers in town that I really like, I always tell people Live Oak Pils is my favorite local beer that I don't brew. I love it. I'm a total whore for Live Oak Pils.
Very, very delicious. Yeah, and I love their Pils and their.
I love their beers just in general, but that's definitely my favorite beer that isn't made in this building. A lot of other stuff. The Draft House is my favorite bar of all time. And I love Josh's beers. I've always loved his beers.
We had a Saison Pumpkin. If you're there again, try the Saison Pumpkin. It is one of the wickedest. I mean, fabulous. We had the Pumpkinator earlier in the week, which is obviously a very different direction. But it's like considered one of the kings of pumpkin beers. I mean, it's a Saison, so it's fresh and peppery and pumpkiny. It's fabulous.
I'll try that. I'll try it mostly because he made it. I am a little bit pumpkin intolerant. I'm not one of those pumpkin beer lovers, and I know I'm in the minority there.
You might like this one. If you like this one, imagine that.
I will. I like his beers. I think this is the time of year where he's got 5 or 6 Saisons on it.
He had a smoked one actually too.
Yeah, I've had that. That's great.
It's pretty cool. So as far as the inspiration for your recipes, I mean, you guys have been making. It's interesting because again, like most breweries, you start with kind of a fairly standard stable. What was the very first beer that you guys brewed? What was the first one?
The first, we basically brewed 3 beers at the same time in the beginning. The IPA, the
Yep.
Pale, and the Wit were our opening 3 beers
Yeah.
when we first came into business. And so we had those. The Wit was the first one that we had a completed batch of, and so we were able to drink that while we worked, and so
That made it all go faster.
I remember that day very well. Yeah. So I believe we sold at least a keg of each for our first sale, which was to the Draft House.
There you go.
Another shout out for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we started out with those 3 beers. We followed that up with the Pecan Porter, which was originally supposed to be our first sort of fall into winter seasonal.
So it's gonna be a seasonal initially.
Yeah, exactly. We just figured we didn't do a dark beer yet, and so we wanted to do something dark. We got some inspiration from the pecan tree that's out in front of our building.
Oh, there's one right in that little thing there.
Yeah, just right out here at
that's cool.
in the island, I guess.
Yeah, we were shading under it. I didn't know what
exactly.
kind of tree it was.
And so Kevin and I came up with a recipe for the Pecan Porter, and started out with that as our first seasonal. That became a regular member of the cast, I guess, pretty quickly, because it pretty much jumped to being our best-selling beer right away as soon as we put it out. So we decided really quickly that we couldn't stop brewing that, and so we've been brewing it ever since.
That must be really rewarding when that happens, like to actually like have a situation like you go, this will go away, and everyone's screaming like, no, please don't do that. Like,
yeah, exactly.
That's great.
Yeah, it's great. It was awesome. It was daunting at the time because we had 3 30-barrel fermenters, and we were like, how are we gonna, fit, a lineup of 4 into 3 fermenters, all the time, and we made it work. And so Pecan Porter's never gone away because of that.
I think, touching on that as well, I think I just want to make sure we get this on camera. I mean, you guys have expanded physically in the space we're in right now. Sure. Do you want to talk a bit about that, like how we've kind of grown in this? You've kind of grown this space over the years.
Sure. When we first started out, our first 2.5 years or so, we basically had 1/3 of a warehouse space. This warehouse space that we're in now, not the third that we're in now.
Yeah.
The third of the warehouse space on that side of the brewery was what we operated in up until about April of last year. And that was just busting at the seams by the time by the time we got this side of the building. The previous tenants that were in this side of the building vacated basically, and we were able to get a hold of it.
Good. Yeah.
At the time, actually, this is a weird statistic, but we figured out that we were doing 1 barrel of beer per year per square foot in that side of the. And like I said, it's a weird statistic, but believe me, it's a fucking lot. It's a whole lot. It was.
Well, you're going as fast as you can, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We were just packed with, all of our empty kegs. Keg washing machine, the whole brew house, all of our fermenters, all of our grain to brew all that. We were just in a tiny little space. So April of last year, we got this 2/3 of the building. We were able to expand and breathe a little bit, and we pretty quickly started filling it up, honestly. We've got the big sort of striped white wall that's back behind the keg machine there is a cold room. So that was basically sort of our cold room expansion.
Right.
Keg machine basically has a chute that lets pallets of kegs go straight back into it.
Cool.
We put in all these fermenters, so we've got 3 120-barrel fermenters and 2 bright tanks over here now. Right. And we've got grain storage over on the other side of the fermenters over there.
That's those
pretty much just filled it
there.
all really fast. Yeah, that's the containers over there.
Isn't that amazing how you go, hey, this will last us for a week?
Exactly. We filled it up fast. We could still fit a few more fermenters in here, I think. We're starting to
room, but not that much.
Starting to get full again, yeah.
I have to figure out how to maneuver everything. So talk about the beers themselves. I mean, we can start. I mean, we've been drinking the 4.
Yeah.
It's also interesting because it's warmed up a little bit. It's got a lot more fragrant.
I think it opens up. Yeah, British beers are a little more not necessarily meant to be drunk at freezing cold temperatures. So it does kind of open up a bit more when I'm.
It's nicely hopped though. I mean, like some of the ESBs come out. If you're a hophead, a little anemic, then I can appreciate those. But this one, so what was your thinking on this one? How did you want to really celebrate your anniversary and
right.
Pop it out there.
Yeah, we came up with this beer basically because we didn't really want to do a quad this year, which is what everybody thought that we were going to do because
it's too predictable.
It's too predictable, and it just wasn't really. I love quads, but it wasn't really what we were feeling this year. And so we kind of had a brainstorming session, and I have always been a huge fan of English beers. They're some of my favorite beers in the world. I really miss the Young's ales that used to be here. I think all you can find anymore is the double chocolate stout, but I really I came up drinking Young's Ramrod and Young's SLA. I still drink Samuel Smith's Pale, their organic pale ale.
I had a peach ale.
That
really good.
Yeah, they just
good.
make incredible beers. So I've always just been really fond of British ales.
Yeah.
Our former sort of second brewer that worked here until recently, Spencer Tilkemeyer, he's now the brewer out at Uncle Billy's on Lake Travis.
Oh, okay.
He's kind of from the same background. He just loves British beers, and at the time he was still working here, and I really wanted to collaborate with him on something because I'm kind of I'm a little bit of a recipe Nazi, I guess. I tend to dominate that. But I really wanted to collaborate with him and do something like that, and so we kind of brainstormed and thought, let's do an English ale. He took off shortly after that. He got a great opportunity out at Uncle Billy's. He's doing great out there.
This is really spicy. You know, like it's not. It's got that like. Is it like the traditional Kent Goldings? Like
Kent Goldings and Fuggle. Yeah, exactly. And it's dry hopped with North Down, which is
I'm not sure familiar with that one.
a British hop, which I haven't used too much in the past, but it's nice, kind
That's
of
what
fruity.
your tattoo is, isn't it? It's a North Down.
It's North Down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, UK Fuggle, UK Kent Goldings. It's got Maris Otter and Baird's malts and a little bit of Baird's roasted malts in there.
Yeah, 'cause it's got a good kind of hearty color to it as well, for sure.
So it's brewed, pretty traditionally British, but maybe a little bit more to an American palate because we like hops so much over here. It's a little bit sharper.
Really nice and spicy though, like really tasty. Why don't we continue back on our little palate here?
Something else? Okay.
Well, yeah. We'll move back. What we do is we go through each one. So this is the wit, I believe, correct?
Yes, this is the wit.
Yes, it's the wit.
Belgian-style wit beer. It's
is it traditional with the coriander and orange peel? Like
fairly traditional. We use grapefruit peel instead of orange.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty much the only difference.
Why is that?
Just a little bit of a Texas twist, I guess.
Yeah, this is a spectacular patio beer.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, obviously you guys probably, I imagine, brewed this in with the slightly warm Austin weather in mind.
Yeah, honestly, it's funny. When we first started out, we were just convinced that this was going to end up being our flagship beer because it's lightest. It's Texas, and Texas is hotter than the face of the sun during the summer.
Yeah.
And we thought it'd be because it's light and refreshing, and also Celis used to be here, and we were the first wit on a production level, I guess. To be in Texas, we really thought this was going to be just far and away our flagship beer. It has turned out not to be so, and that's really kind of a testament to the Texas palate. Is that the IPA is by far our best-selling beer now.
Interesting.
Yeah,
more so than the Pecan Porter.
Yeah, I mentioned Pecan Porter being our best seller right away when we first made that, but shortly after that, I think we sort of really nailed down our IPA recipe.
Oh, cool.
And IPA has sold twice anything else since then. It's by far our best-selling beer.
Yeah.
So it really kind of goes to show how open and how sophisticated the palates of people in Texas are right now. But wit is still one of our top 3 beers. It's a year-round beer, and it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, and its finish is so nice and dry, and so a little bit like just the right amount of carbonation. It's just a like I said, a great patio beer. Really sort of tickles the tongue with a little carbonation. Just super dry finish.
Yeah,
like it's really tasty.
It goes really well with Buddha's Brew kombucha. My girlfriend discovered that actually. She'll do like a half and half of wit, and I think she changes up the flavor of kombucha from time to time, but she'll do half and half of that and Buddha's Brew, who are here in Austin, and they're great too.
Yeah. That's very tasty.
It's an awesome combination.
Yeah, I had this outside a number of times, so it's a tasty one. So now talking about the flagship, I think we'll continue on our line here.
Yeah.
This is the IPA.
Yeah.
Let's see how we. Obviously, very little coppery.
Yeah.
Anything special about this one?
We brew our IPA with kind of, like with everything else, just what we want to drink in mind. And, we've always sort of felt like, the hops should be the star, obviously, of a good IPA.
It's not over the top, though, Like, I find the hops in this kind of, strong, firm, and then the really nice grapefruit finish. Like, really lovely.
Exactly. The hops should be the star, but hops are sort of nothing without the malt there to sort of flesh them out.
Yeah.
So it's not sweet. It's not heavily malty.
Yeah.
But there's enough of like a malt fruitiness, I think, there that really makes the
finish
hops
is really
pop.
dry again too. Like a very, very, very dry finish.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I've had this one, of course. Too. Actually, I've had everyone with the last one. I'm gonna try one more sip.
Yeah.
Just one more.
Everybody always asks me, this is my least favorite question when we're at GABF or some other festival like that. We end up getting so many people that come in and say, which one's your favorite? Or which is the best one?
Which child of yours do you love the most?
Exactly. How do you answer that question? I can say though that I probably drink more of this one than any other. I love them all pretty much equally, but I drink more of this at home than anything else.
Really nice enduring at home. How do you get it? I'm just kidding. It's like magic. Well, no, it's just a wonderful like grapefruit at the end of it. Just kind of sticks on the back of the tongue and just kind of keeps on cruising. So
cool,
next we go to the classic. This is of course the Pecan Porter, and like I said, this is one of the first beers I had in Austin that was just absolutely blown away by it. I think I remember I also had it on cask one time at the Ginger Man, and it was just, you know, it was amazing. I mean, something like this on cask, so fresh. I imagine you guys driving it up there earlier that morning or something.
Yeah.
Probably, and you know, just really, really great. I think I mean it's that sort of balanced nuttiness to it that, you know, with the, it's not again not overly chocolatey, not overly smoky, just super balanced, but it was nice.
We do a nitro version of this as well. And as far as I know, I'm kind of going out on a limb here, but as far as I know, we're the first brewery in Texas, production brewery in Texas, to do like a true nitro beer where there's nitro actually dissolved into the.
Right. So that must get really, really, really creamy then. Like
yeah, exactly. It's very creamy. It does the whole Guinness Cascade thing.
Cool. I mean, the thing about this one, I mean, it's definitely a firmer beer. You know, it's definitely like there's some good initial bitterness in it, but then you get like the sort of the mid palate nuttiness, and then it's got a bit of the coating of the mouth as well. You know, like in a nice, like fabulous way.
Yeah. I think one of the things that was really important to us early on designing this beer and brewing this beer is the pecan part of it, and that it be really natural and not. You know, I really hate when I try a beer that is supposed to have some flavor. It's got some nut, it's got some fruit or something like that in it, and it just tastes like they dumped a bottle of liqueur or a bottle of extract or something like that in it. I would rather, barely be able to taste it than have it taste, syrupy and extracty or something like that. So we go with all natural pecans. Wow, I just noticed my glasses cracked.
Don't lick it.
It'll be all right. We go with all, real pecans. They're organic. They're
do you grind them up, or do you?
We grind them up. They're roasted for us by a company called Austin Nuts. But we grind them up and we throw them into the mash, and we get that sort of pecan flavor. We get a little bit of the pecan shell astringency, I think. But it's not just in your face. I think if you didn't know it was there, it wouldn't pop out at you as that flavor. But if you know it's there, you can taste it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would say that this was fairly early in my professional drinking career. I was a semi-professional prior to that. Then I became a professional. Yeah. And you say, hey,
I know the feeling.
You go, it's a pecan porter, and you go, okay, I expect pecan, like.
Yeah.
And I try to go. You have to search for it for a bit, but then when you like I said, it's really woven through the mid palate, in a really really lovely way. And I think it takes what probably is a really solid porter underneath it, and just gives it this extra dimension that's and it's interesting too, because again the body's fairly light. It finishes. It's got a bit of a little juicy finish, but it's not. The body's still. Like, again, you can, and I have drunk this in 100 degrees and be more than happy with it. It sort of proves that point that. Not all dark beers are, heavy, cloying beers. So it's very, very...
And definitely, year-round, no matter how hot it is, 100 and a million degrees outside in the middle of summer, this is always our second best-selling beer after the IPA.
Yeah, this is amazing.
So it really sells year-round.
Does it sell more in the winter? Like, does it?
It does, It absolutely spikes in the winter, but it never really stops selling in the summer. It doesn't drop that much.
So I came here knowing that the 4 was here, so that's one of my evil schemes, is to show up and try new beers I haven't tried. But the Coco Cerise.
This was a surprise.
Yeah, it was a surprise, and it was an extremely pleasant surprise. So, I mean, it's really interesting. So did you use the same sort of base porter formula and then layer the additional elements to the roasted coconut?
Yeah, absolutely.
Honduran vanilla and dark cherry on top of that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's basically just flavoring added to our regular pecan porter.
Like sweet cakey on the nose, like.
Absolutely, it's
wow.
Yeah, basically, the idea for this beer came about basically as a sort of a side effect of our cask program. We do a ton of cask beer. We do a lot of firkins, and we do them with all sorts of cool flavors and stuff like that. And several months back. We kind of had a breakthrough where we started realizing that we got a lot more flavor and a lot more pure flavor when we made our own extracts out of the ingredients that we were using in those casks. And so we're making extracts here in-house to flavor those firkins with. And then we've done a few just one-off kegs regularly carbonated, but with the same flavorings in them. So this is Pecan Porter. It's
Minus the pecan.
it's got pecan.
Does it?
Yeah, it's absolutely the same beer.
Really?
Came out of a Pecan Porter fermenter. We just do a handful of kegs of this. We add the flavorings in the keg, so it's we can whoops. So we can.
It's okay. We'll get that in the editing.
There we go. We add the flavorings in the keg, so it's the same beer. It's got the pecan. It's also got toasted coconut.
I can barely. Maybe I can. I'm not sure. It just. So the nose is so interesting. The nose is like sweet cake, and you go, I'm going to be like, oh, this is going to be like a very sweet, cloying beer, and it is completely not.
It's totally dry.
It's totally dry. It finishes slightly bitter.
Yeah.
But you got that kind of like sweetness to the mid palate with the coconut. Like,
I love that. I've always loved that sort of when a beer will pull a fast one on my palate. When
totally
I smell
does.
it. And think it's going to be one thing, and then it's another thing, but it's still good.
No, it's great. I mean, I like the initial flavor is like, wow, that's delicious. That one. As far as seasonals, I mean, you've done the wild bear, you've done the double pecan porter. Have you ever talked about any others? I'm not trying to pry. This isn't hard hitting, sort of thing. We try to generally know, like, are you going to continue expanding? It seems to me like you're starting to stretch some interesting boundaries now. I saw a bunch of barrels over there.
We are. We have all those barrels that you saw are actually dedicated to the whiskey barrel aged double pecan porter, which we have brewed and we'll be putting into those barrels soon, within the next week or so.
Yeah.
Which will line them up for maybe a mid-December to mid-January release. But we are expanding into other things like that. Yeah, we've finally kind of gotten to the point where we've been expanding for the last 2 years or so, and we've finally gotten to the point where we're in a steady rhythm, and things are starting to get a little bit less tight, and so we're able to experiment with other things, which is great, super gratifying. And so we're working on a lot more barrel age projects, a lot of other ideas. For other beers that we would do.
Have you done any more other collaborations, or you think maybe you've done some in the past? Have you done collaborations with other folks, or have you?
We haven't done any collaborations with anybody else. We are talking a little bit. We've become friends with Garrett Marrero from Maui Brewing Company.
Oh, cool.
He was actually at our last anniversary party last year.
Sweet.
And we've gotten to be pretty good friends with that guy, and they make a coconut porter, which is award-winning and delicious, and just absolutely incredible. And we've considered the idea of doing sort of a collaboration with him. It'd be pecan porter plus coconut porter equals German chocolate cake, maybe.
It's something that'll rapidly disappear regardless of what it tastes like.
Yeah.
For sure. No, but this one is fabulous. Like
Thank you.
The Coco Cerise. So.
Thank you.
That's causing me problems.
Is it?
Well, yeah, because I would normally say hands down the pecan porter, but I think this is my favorite. Like, this is a really, really, really delicious beer. It's just got a lot more, it's just got so much going on. Like, and it's interesting that, as you said, it's extract driven right into the keg. Like,
yeah, exactly.
There's not a specific aging process of fermentation that goes with it. It's just
not at all. This is literally just finished pecan porter with some flavors, which we made here in house. So we're not buying a bottle of extract off the shelf. We made these extract flavors here in house and added them to it.
It's still super light and delicious. So
cool.
This is my favorite. Sorry, pecan porter, but I still love pecan porter too.
Pecan porter was heavily involved.
Okay, so it's not so bad.
Yeah.
No, but that's about it. I mean, I think this has been a really fun time. I mean, it's great to be here. I've been here, like I said before, on the anniversary and last one, and it's cool. It's actually a fun place to film in. It's got unique challenges, but I think it seemed to go off pretty well. So
yeah, absolutely.
And appreciate you guys.
Thanks very much. Thanks for coming out and talking to us. This has been fun.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Na zdrowie.
And thank you.
And you, everyone. You guys have so many fans. It's like awesome. Well deserved.
Thank you very much.